This work has been underway in some form or fashion for probably about a year now. We started last year with the approval of a new full-time employee in our community planning, housing, and development team, as well as designating a series of actions we were looking for this year. The Childcare Initiative is now in the incredibly competent hands of some leadership from the Department of Human Services, who have brought together both a leadership team and a working group that draws on, I believe, over 25 different agencies and organizations. They have created a draft action plan for us, organized around the goals of accessibility, availability, and quality as our three guiding lights for how we want to seek to expand the childcare supply in Arlington County. And last Thursday, January 25th, was an opportunity to roll out that action plan and start to get some feedback from the community. It was really an exciting night, a large turnout, an enthusiastic turnout. I think a turnout that actually reflected the full diversity of Arlington County, which was inspiring to see. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions and experiences and feedback for us about where we need to go to be expanding supply and affordable quality supply of childcare in Arlington.
Now, you've touched on this a little bit, but what would you say are the biggest challenges to childcare in Arlington? With, the affordability, the growth needed, but what are you hearing from the residents?
Sure. So affordability, of course, is one of the biggest challenges. And what's interesting is that's all the way up and down the economic spectrum. Even for middle class or even upper class families, you have childcare, especially if you're looking at more than one child or a very young child, that costs more than rent or a mortgage payment on a monthly basis. So as we seek to expand supply, one of our biggest challenges is going to be how do we as government or with partners try to tackle some of the biggest drivers of cost, which of course comes back to rent. So we'll be looking at a series of potential land use or regulatory strategies that might help us tackle that. And one of the challenges as well to starting a child care center can sometimes be the regulatory burden. We want to keep quality high. That's inarguable among everyone who's at the table here. But it's also important for us to look afresh with a new eye at some of our standards and make sure that they all are driving quality and that in some they aren't inadvertently creating obstacles and barriers, which I think they may be doing now.
And I applaud the chair for coming up with this as a focus of our county, because it's often overlooked how unique childcare is as being a disproportionately expensive thing for families. While everything is expensive in Arlington, we're a high-cost area, we also happen to be a region that has the most expensive childcare in the entire country. And eating up a disproportionate amount of a family's budget means that this is a huge concern, and it has real-world effects. It means that sometimes parents who would prefer to be in the labor force cannot, because they have to actually be home. That's the more affordable version of childcare that they can actually access. So it really distorts a lot of things in our economy and in our community and disrupts families to a tremendous degree. And if we can do anything to sort of help bridge that gap between the supply and the demand and make things at least more stable from a cost perspective, we'll be doing a great service for our residents.
What kind of role can really we as county government play in alleviating some of these concerns a little bit?
Well, I think the focus on supply is really key, because there clearly is a demand deficit. There is a gap, and that gap certainly puts upward pressures on prices. And if we can figure out how through zoning and permitting and facilitating the creation of more child care, coming up with innovative solutions that maybe involve the business community and underutilized building resources, then we can deal with affordability and supply at the same time and just take the stress out. I can tell you, as someone who's put 2 kids through child care, you spend a lot of work trying to find a good solution. And if we can ease that burden, I'll feel good about our role as public servants.
I think that's exactly right. And there's some connecting we can do between supply and demand. I think people are sometimes surprised to know that there is no centralized point of access between consumers and providers, or coordination of wait list or slot list. And so, for a parent, it's sort of every man and woman for themselves and trying to figure it out. So there's a role we can play not only in reducing the regulatory burden or even helping along with some land use strategies, the creation or expansion of supply, but also in terms of really coordinating the supply and demand that might already be there.